started when product management was not the most fancy job description. The journey of the product management role per se, right, started probably around, say, 80, 90, 100 years ago. Essentially, that product manager is nothing but a proxy of the end consumers, the customers, the users, in my opinion. I won't share my secret of who I would hire. The philosophy of product management is not innovating on products or
To this new episode of Rising Through the Ranks podcast. In this episode, we have Mr. Rohan Mahadar, who's VP of Product at Capillary Technologies. In this episode, we talk to him about product management in general, how to enter this field, how to grow in this, and basically what are the basics of product management. So do watch this episode fully and let us know your opinions in the comment section below.
Hi Rohan, thank you for coming to our podcast. And can we just start with a brief explanation of your journey, and we'll get into the deep questions later.
Sure. Thanks, Adi. Thanks, Amit, for the opportunity and really good work that you guys are doing, helping spread some knowledge through this new media of podcast and online content. Really grateful for the opportunity and also thanking you from on behalf of the entire community out there in the startup ecosystem and the wider startup community. So to begin with, let me introduce myself. I'm Rohan, part of the product team at Capillary Technologies. I started my journey at Capillary 8 years ago as a product manager. Started with one of our oldest products called InStore, which was a desktop application. Very different experience compared to what most of the product managers typically in this day and age go through. Managing a desktop application is something not very common. So that was a wonderful experience. After that, managed a couple of other product groups. Eventually started a few new products, which led to its own product group within Capillary. Worked on a few AI products way back in 2016-17, when AI was still trying to make inroads in our SaaS ecosystem as such. That was again a very good learning experience. We built certain hardware products at Capillary, which was a unique experience again in itself. Over the past few years, I've been managing the product function at Capillary. I'm a VP of products. We'll talk about the overall product experience, my journey, and my 2 cents about product management in a bit. Before joining Capillary, I was working at Cognizant as product manager for one of their new business units where they wanted to build new products, trying to move away from the services world and build certain new products. That was again a unique experience working in a product management space in a large services organization in India. I did my small startup way back in 2008, worked on it for like few years. And then when we saw that it was not going too well, I decided to move on and do my MBA from ISB. I'm a graduate of computer science from Pune University. So yeah, I worked in companies of various sizes, different stages of evolution. I wouldn't say I've worked in a lot of different functions, but my startup experience gave me some bit of experience of different functions. I did work for a bit as a software developer way back in 2006. But yeah, overall been a over 15 years experience in the product space. Started when product management was not the most fancy job description. I don't know whether it is till today, but yeah, I've really liked it. So yeah, happy to be here with you guys.
And Ron, on that point, like a few years ago, product management was still in its initial stages. What have you seen change, and what do you think product management is now today?
Right. So, product management in the overall software industry, right, is a fairly new role. The journey of the product management role per se, right, started probably around, say, 80, 90, 100 years ago through some of these consumer packaged goods companies. So I think P&G had the product management function that they initiated initially called as brand men. Okay, so you must have seen this sitcom Mad Men, which was around uh, the advertising space. People from Madison Avenue worked on some of these ad companies and ad agencies, and the role that these guys were doing was sort of termed as madmen, sort of casually. Similarly, there was this role called as brand men in some of the CPG companies. This role evolved as people who would be sort of mini CEOs for different products. Now, in these CPG kind of companies, manufacturing companies, right? A toothpaste is a product, soap is a product, right? Whatever you build is a product, but beyond that product and a few collection of variants of those products, it eventually forms a business unit in itself, right? So Nestle's food division is, or say, a confectionery division is a business unit in itself, and it would have different products. So each of these product units, business units, would essentially have these mini CEOs called brand men in some sense. Their primary job description was to actually manage the P&L of the product, uh, build the product, package the product, take it to the customers, position it, have the right pricing strategy, even marketing, advertising strategy, and essentially manage the entire product. That is how the product management role as such started. With the evolution of software products, right? It has slightly changed a bit, where we are still at times looking at the overall P&L responsibilities and managing the business aspects of it. But there are a lot more differentiation between some of these nuanced responsibilities, and sort of moving those responsibilities to different experts. So revenue is probably a responsibility of a chief revenue officer or a growth officer or a business officer and so on. Manufacturing or development is the responsibility of an engineering leader and so on. So we have sort of moved away from product management as a overall sort of a mini CEO of that business unit and that product, to becoming more of working only on what should that product look like, feel like, and how should it be packaged for the end user. Which in a way is also a very good evolution of the role, because now, so one of the reasons that this brandman concept of the early product management role started was, these folks would essentially be the proxy for the customers in a boardroom or a room where you are taking product decisions. So if you're, let's say, building any product, let's take for example, say, a razor for as a Gillette product, right? You can't have different customers, consumers sitting in every single conversation where you are taking product decision. Obviously, you would have some of your consumer research done and so on. But essentially, that brand man or these product managers would come in as proxy for the customer, and they would essentially voice the customer's voice in some sense. Uh, and that role is essentially what we have sort of fine-tuned over the last few decades. And in my opinion, that is actually a good, clearer role definition. In any uh, discussion nowadays where there is a product manager, essentially that product manager is nothing but a proxy of the end consumers, the customers, the users, in my opinion, and that is how it should be. So yeah.
Very, if someone didn't know about product management, they should
Yeah,
know by now.
I think
Because
that mini CEO also was good. Like I never thought, I don't think I've heard that term being used, and how
Yeah.
it's become more specialized. Yeah.
Yeah, so from being a generalist and being a mini CEO, sort of a product owner per se, to
Hmm.
becoming a sort of a voice of customer. I wouldn't use the term product manager of a product, but rather
Hmm.
someone who brings in the customer perspective in a room where product decisions are taken, would be the role of a product manager.
and Rohan, what is the career progression for a product manager if someone gets in through college? How would they go?
Right. So typically, what we have seen, right, someone who has who wants to get into the product management space, unlike a few other functions, let's say like an engineering, you don't necessarily have to start in the product management space. In fact, it is at times even better in certain industries, certain products where you have actually worked on different functions, worked in different role, or even different analogous industries, so that you bring in that customer perspective, that user perspective in your role. So there are multiple different ways in which you can actually get into the product space, product management role specifically. You either start as uh, a product analyst or a associate product manager. In most companies, there is this entry level position right after your graduation. And again, the graduation could be from absolutely any stream. There's no restriction to the stream that you have for your graduation. It could be absolutely any function, any say a branch in some sense, not even restricted to engineering, I would say. Once you start in that role, you over a period of time understand the different uh, operational aspects of product management. And that is where you actually start dipping your toes into the functional product management space. Over a period of time, you graduate into being a product manager, a senior product manager, which is the mid-level management role for product management. And eventually, you own a larger scope of influence, I would say, with a larger matter of multiple products. You essentially start working on operational aspects of a feature as a APM, as a product analyst. You eventually own a larger charter where you own a bunch of features together. Your scope of influence over a period of time increases to become a mid-level manager, as a product manager or a senior product manager. Eventually, you can grow into being an individual contributor or a people manager within product management. And then you have either a principal product manager track, and then or a director product manager track, where you eventually become a VP or a head of products. One thing that I would call out is that no matter what level you are in, the only thing that really changes is your scope of influence or a sphere of influence, I would say. So you'd either be managing or working on a feature or a bunch of features, or a product or a bunch of products, or a larger suite of products. But at the end of the day, what really matters is you're still working with the same set of stakeholders uh, who are, and your core job is essentially conceptualizing, creating, positioning of your products, of the features that you are working on, right? Uh, the stakeholders that you are working with are essentially the developers, the sellers, the folks who are supporting your product with the customers, being the face of the product in front of the customers, and so on. So again, the sphere of influence of these stakeholders changes, and hence your sphere of influence essentially changes. But at the end of the day, the value addition is essentially the same. You're essentially being the voice of the customer in the room. You're conceptualizing, building products, features, so that they add value to the end consumers, help build more better products for adding better efficiency or value for your customers, and thereby making dollar value addition to your company.
And just around like getting like more hands-on, like how does the day-to-day look like? So some PMs have described to me, they said, I go in the morning, grab a cup of coffee, look at the metrics dashboard, or maybe I have to write a large document for like conceptualizing a feature. Is that how PMs generally look in the initial phases? And now as a VP, how has that changed for you? How does your day look like?
So every product manager's style of working essentially dictates how their day would look like. Uh, there are product managers who would have same day or a similar day every single day, and they'll break that day into doing multiple different tasks and things on that day. Certain product managers, like me, I would probably split my entire week into different days, and then do different activities on certain days of the week. Then there are product managers who would probably look at even larger duration, like let's say a month or a quarter, and focus on certain weeks or certain months on doing designing of their specifications, on certain weeks only on writing documentation, and so on. On certain weeks just going through the heaps of data and working on data, and so on. And again, it also is a big function of what your product and your business needs from you. So if your business needs you to be on top of your metrics and numbers on a hourly basis, then obviously you'll probably have to look at those numbers on an hourly basis or a daily basis. In a SaaS business like ours, we typically don't have to look at the number of users, the usage metrics, and some of these data points on a day-to-day basis, because we don't see such a drastic change in our numbers on a daily basis. But yeah, on a weekly basis, we do spend time on understanding the data, getting the insights out of the data to make our currently under execution product decisions better, or features that we have built, how we can improve those features and so on. It also changes, as you asked, depending on the role that you are in. When you are managing a bunch of folks, you would want to influence different features, different products through the people who are managing these product lines, these product features. So you'd want to have a lot more conversations with your teams in the initial couple of few days in a week. That is typically my style, where I would probably spend a bunch of hours on a Monday or a Tuesday talking to the product managers or engineering managers, understanding different aspects of their products, and contribute to some of those early decisions in that week, so that we are not too late into understanding some of the problems, issues in those features during that week. The rest of the week, I would typically start sort of thinning out on a lot of conversations with different people, but rather spending a lot more time on my own deep work on whatever topics that I'm working on, doing my own research on. So yeah, that's how I would typically spend my week, I would say, rather than a day.
And one thing that I think I picked on was like for example, you said SaaS, there is a different way to look at things. Maybe in fintech as an industry, there will be a different way to look at things as a PM. And this trend has been coming up where PM specialize in an industry also now. So there will be a fintech PM, there will be a SaaS PM. So as a decision, let's say I'm 25, 26, and I worked for 2, 3 years in the fintech industry. Does it make sense to go deeper? Is there more value in just specializing in an industry, or should a person be switching industries? Like, what is good for, as a VP of product? Who would you hire? A fintech PM switching, or someone who has experience in the SaaS industry? Like, how
Okay,
do you
I
think?
won't share my secret of who I would hire. No, jokes aside, I think again, going back to the brand men
Hmm.
example, right? The philosophy of product management is not innovating on products, or not innovating and finding new products,
Hmm.
but finding right avenues of packaging, positioning an existing technology and existing idea and existing product for a larger market fit. I'll give you
Hmm.
some examples around this, and then I'll come to what the overall point that I'm trying to make. In the early days of the manufacturing industry, they would not actually innovate and create some of these products like a refrigerator, a washing machine, or a microwave. In fact, they would look at some of these high-tech industries or technology domains like a military or pharmaceutical industry, or some of these lot more sophisticated industries, to understand different technology evolutions, innovations, like working or understanding from NASA or US military would be something that some of these brand men would do. Something like a microwave would come out of a technology that was not used by military anymore, right?
Okay.
They realized that, and there are multiple stories around how microwave got invented, where they tried some of these technologies in a smaller testing area, and they saw that all it did was actually melt the chocolates in the pockets of these people who were testing out the microwave technology. And that gave idea to someone to think about, why can't we use this to warm our food. So good products essentially are, or good consumer products, I would say, are essentially formed or brought into the consumer space through product managers who are aware of innovations in other industries and have the creativity of bringing in those ideas into your industry. So a good fintech product manager, when they are actually going deep in fintech, I would say they are going even more broader in other industries to
Hmm.
figure out ideas from, say, a transportation industry, or say e-commerce or pharma industry, or any of the other industries. Can we borrow innovations happening in some other industry into my industry,
Okay.
right? So this building of analogy from other industries into your industries, where we are seeing a faster rate of sort of product innovation, I would say, although it is not true research and innovation in some sense, in the true sense of the word, I would say. But yeah, that is what the domain of product management and product innovation essentially in consumer spaces. So if
Got
you have your eyes and ears open to other industries, to other technology advances, and how
it.
you bring those ideas into your industry is something that I would look at as the creative skill of a product manager, rather than someone who has extremely deep idea about, say, a fintech or an e-commerce. I mean, obviously that is useful, but those traits can be learned very quickly once someone spends enough time deep working on that particular domain. And you would have enough industry experts working within your organization who would anyway have that subject matter expertise of that domain. You
And
would have,
translate it easily.
yeah, and translate it back to you. So you would have enough finance folks even in your finance department in an organization that is building fintech products for you to understand some of those things. Even your CA would give you a lot of ideas, right? You don't necessarily have to be a CA or a finance expert per se to build great fintech products.
Understood. Got it.
And Rohan, in this hiring question only, not hiring, but basically my question is ki what kind of person or what kind of profile would fit a product management role? I'm not asking career wise. I'm asking ki jaise there is a very famous quote by Bill Gates ki I would hire a lazy person over a hardworking person because the lazy person would come up with with an easy solution. So what kind of people are more suited to the product management roles? Wo-
Right. So in product management role, right, different skill sets are required, and sort of the mix of those skill sets vary over as you grow in the ranks of product management space. So in the initial few days of your product management days, you would probably need someone who is a lot more diligent, a lot more scrupulous with data and so on. Someone in the middle product management levels would probably be someone, as I mentioned, who is a lot more creative, bring in ideas, run experimentations on 15 different ideas, of which, say, few ideas only succeed, and then you can actually build new products out. Someone at a senior product management level, you would need someone who is a lot more nurturing and caring of your product managers, and sort of empowering them, motivating them to think out of the box, build some of these experimentation ideas, and bring them back into your product space and build innovative ideas. So at different stages, different virtues, traits would be required. With and that said, I think the most important trait that I would look at is someone who is extremely diligent with their work data, being very scrupulous with data, is extremely detailed oriented, and at the same time is has certain traits of being creative in nature. So these two things I value very much.
And do you think an interest in the product itself is important? Ki maybe I was interested in product A, but I was assigned to product B. So do you think that matters, or should the person be equally as dedicated to product B?
Very, very interesting question. I feel that you can probably be a very good product manager of a product that you really like. For example, let's say I like cars. Does that make me a great car product manager? I like, let's say, cameras. Does that make me an expert to make good cameras? Yeah, I can actually bring in certain perspective as a user, as an enthusiast into that space. But as they say, video game players don't
Mm.
essentially make good video game
There will be a
makers.
according to their biases.
Exactly. So there could be a lot of negative aspects that could creep in. There could be a lot of positive things that might actually come in because of them being really interested in that domain. And hence, I would say the answer, like a safe answer, would be it completely depends on that person whether they are able to take a step back when they are actually taking a particular decision, whether they are taking this decision based on their own perception and understanding of the space, or they are taking a collective voice of their customers and then making that particular decision. So some of these things actually influence a lot more than whether you are interested in the product or not.
And Rohan, so switching gears slightly, so you have like you studied at ISB, and in many industries, an MBA is required for like senior positions. So that is generally asked, at least in consultancy, VC, etc. In PMs also, is that there कि MBA करना जरूरी है? And how was, first of all, like how did you like ISB? How has it been helpful in your career? What's your opinion on that?
Right. So speaking for myself first, did I get as much benefit out of ISB as, let's say, some of my batchmates did? I would say yes. The slight difference in my approach towards my time at ISB versus some of my fellow batchmates would be I was firm on my decision of staying in the product management role even after ISB. So I got in to ISB with the view that I just want to accelerate my career in product management space. I was not going in to explore some of the other domains, other industries, and so on. I didn't even go in with the perspective of being an expert in something else. The reason I got into ISB was I realized very early in my product management days was that I need a lot more broad understanding of different aspects of business. Because when we took certain decisions in our startup days before I went in for my MBA, we realized that some of the decisions we took were not well balanced decisions. Certain decisions were more focused on business aspects versus on product aspects or technology aspects, and sometimes we would rather go too deep in making certain features, products, tech aspects of the business a lot more complete even before we actually took any sane business decisions around it. So I realized that I wanted to get a larger coverage in some sense to different functions. And that is what I gathered from ISB. I got a really good sense of how marketing works, how finance works, and how other departments and functions in the business world operate. And since I was firm on my decision of getting back into the product space, I could actually bring in those analogies of how financial modeling works, how pricing in marketing works, and bring those aspects and that understanding back into the product management. How can I use some of those skills, techniques into product management, say PRD writing or project management, and some of those things? Whether I should invest in a particular feature, should I invest in a particular product? Think about those aspects from both the financial aspects, the business, and viability aspect, and so on. In terms of the next question that you asked, whether product management needs or growing in the ranks, the product management space needs an MBA degree or an MBA. Obviously, the answer is no. You don't need it. It's always a good to have. I wouldn't discount an MBA, which is something that a lot of folks in Valley or even in the startup world do. MBA is extremely valuable. Whether it deserves the amount that you're paying for a particular school or what is the ROI is something that is completely up for debate and is a decision that you have to make for yourself. That said, any MBA course, all the topics that are taught in an MBA school are extremely relevant for building your career in product management. You can use your time on your role on your job while you're working to understand and learn some of these things, either through online courses. YouTube is a great resource. Podcasts like these are extremely great to actually get you upskilled on some of these aspects. Do you need an MBA? Obviously, the answer is no. Does the MBA help? Definitely yes.
Understand.
So shifting to a slightly technical aspect, what all softwares or things do product managers need?
So I would say they need to know software only to an extent or to a degree where they can empathize with the engineering part, right?
They
With
shouldn't they
empathy,
shouldn't just say anything to the engineer to build this and I'm
yeah.
done.
And ulta also, right? Ki developer bhi should not be able to game the PM in terms of I worked for a week on this, but actually 2 hours. So,
And I'll bring in a slightly more important aspect to it, right? As your product increases in the number of features, as number of products increase in your overall product suite, as the functionalities increase in your feature, every single functionality, every single line of code that you add and on your product or around your product adds to the overall debt of the product. We keep talking about tech debt and technical debt. I think there is a larger debt around the product that gets created. There is a lot more heavier product now at the end of every single sprint, every single roadmap cycle, which adds to the inertia of the product,
Understood.
right? So, as a product manager, you should be cognizant about the fact that your product doesn't become too heavy to for its own good, right? It should still stay nimble, flexible, malleable, whatever you may want to call it, so that you can have quick avenues of experimentation. You should still be able to tweak your direction of your product development basis the way the company pivots itself or do micro pivots, which are fairly common these days in the startup world. You shouldn't have to rewrite the entire product in some sense, right? Some of those things, if product managers understand, that is good enough. And for and these things actually need you to have fairly decent understanding of the larger software engineering, I would say, than writing code and understanding different technologies.
And Rohan, is that like a, huge pain point in the PM space today? So, like, I am a PM, but there is something that is so painful and does inefficient in my workflow today, because we also have an audience who looks at building things, startups, etc. And anything that a startup can build to help PMs today. Do you have any thing you would like a demand for a PM startup?
So there are a lot of areas where startups can actually build PM tools.
Huh.
Dev tools is a big domain out there. I think there is a huge opportunity for building a lot of PM tools. I personally don't find a lot of tools out there in the market that are really suited for different product managers, different teams, different product managers with different styles of working and so on. So obviously there are different tools right from the project management, product management space, all the way up to writing good specs around your product, building PRDs and so on. I mean, there are a lot of tools out there in the market. I don't want to call out names of
Yeah.
good ones or the bad ones. But yeah, there are a lot of opportunities and avenues through the entire value chain of a product management role that you can actually build for. One specific area there where I feel that there is an opportunity to do a lot more, lot better, is overall quick experimentation. And these quick experimentations usually happen on multiple different fronts. Your quick experimentation in terms of trying out different avenues or alternatives based on the data. Sometimes these could be different options based on design. Sometimes these could be different options based on what AI these days suggests you to do. It could be some AI-based recommendations or AI-based uh, options that you can actually get on the go for your particular pain point or a problem at that point in time. How can a product manager actually choose some of these in the common UX parlance, do the A/B testing of some of the different options available and do these quick experimentations is something that I feel there can be a good solution out there in the market maybe soon.
And Ron, is there any like is there willingness to pay? And if I want to sell to, for example, Capillary, do I come and talk to you? Ki this is my tool. Maybe 7 days you can try for free, and then it goes like how does that work? How do I sell to you if I'm a startup?
Right. So there are two ways in which some of these PM tools could be. You can think about the JTM of some of these tools. One is a B2E way where you actually target the employees, the users themselves.
Oh,
Like for example, Slack started in some sense like that, right? You created
correct.
your own smaller communities, and then you thought, oh, why can't I use it within my organization and so on. Or any other tool. Let's say most of the Adobe Creative Suite
Mm,
essentially starts with a freelancer starting to use it, then employees start using it, and then they push their organization to buy an enterprise license and so on, right?
yeah.
So build that influence through the B2E space, the B2 users, business to
Mm,
user space, which is a lot easier and a lot more similar to building a B2C product, but now you have a lot sharper focus on a particular segment essentially.
Yeah.
than going through the B2B route, where you are trying to convince
Mm.
different stakeholders. It could be head of product, it could be a finance person, it could be a CTO, who are essentially just the buyers, but the actual user is someone else.
Wow. Yeah, actually, this distinction makes sense.
Yeah. So if I choose a product X that Amit has built along with Adi and I find it really good, doesn't mean that the APM or a PM in my team finds it useful. And they probably may not even come back to me, and their efficiency might drop, their productivity might actually suffer than using a product which is not ideal for their use case versus a product that these guys come up with. Rohan, we have been using this tool, really great for my own usage. I have recommended it to my teammate. They are also liking it. We should buy an enterprise license.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think this route makes total sense. That would be really helpful. Thank you. I think, Rohan, we are done with the main questions. We
Yes.
have a small rapid fire round.
Just to
Five,
finish on a light note.
yeah,
So
just
the
one line answers. Uh,
just fun answers. So what
yeah.
is the best part about your job?
Best part about my job, I would say working with young entrepreneurial mindset folks who I can like motivate and get best out of them on a day-to-day basis.
And one thing you would like to change about your role.
Uh, One thing I would like to change about my role. Uh, I don't feel like
Okay.
I don't see anything that I should change.
Uh,
Actually, this answer, we have received a lot of the same, like nothing we would like to change. So we are happy to meet so many people who are very happy with their jobs on this podcast. So,
and can AI take over your job in a few years?
I hope so. I really hope AI takes over my role and does a lot better job. And I would want to leverage AI to make my job, my role a lot better.
And
Uh,
this also we've heard a lot of people say ki I want to leverage AI to do a better job. And the people who know what AI is actually like, you've been seeing it for more than a decade. They know कि AI is needs to be used, not to be feared. कि AI मेरा job खा जाएगा.
yeah.
That is the much
If
better.
anything, you
mindset.
should like everyone should hope and expect AI someday take up their role, their job, so that you can move on to as individuals, as human beings, learning something new and go on to
Mm.
do something even more, even better.
Mm.
There were so many different roles 15, 20, 30 years ago that if you just go and see those roles either in movies or read about them in books, and you would be like, oh, people used to do this. I can't wrap my head around how can someone spend so much time on doing something which nowadays is not even a role out there in the market, right? So I'd be more than happy to like hope AI takes up the role, like someone being a note taker or a jotting down the discussion in a conversation in a meeting was a role, right?
Yeah.
Would be assistants doing some of that learning shorthand and typewriting and so on in a meeting. Nowadays, you don't have that. You have people, you have bots joining your conversation
Meeting.
and doing taking notes. I would want to see some of those things happening in all roles, in fact.
And on like one next question, what is one missed opportunity in your career that you wish you had a second chance at?
Mm, I wouldn't say a missed opportunity per se, but I feel I could have gotten some more hands-on product management experience on B2C product management.
Mm.
While I really enjoy B2B product management, and I would have obviously wanted to get back into the B2B product management, SaaS product management, I do feel that at times I could have gotten learned a lot more from B2C product management as well.
Got it.
Arun, what's an alternate career you would have chosen if not product management?
Wildlife photographers.
Oh, great.
I don't know whether I would have been any good in that, but yeah, I would have definitely loved it.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we're done with the questions. So thank you so much. We
Thank
learned
you
a
so much.
lot about product
Yeah,
management.
yeah, actually.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It was a great opportunity, great fun speaking with you guys.
Thank you for watching the podcast till the end.
If you have any questions or doubts for the guest, please let us know in the comments.
And if you think कि कोई question बहुत important है, do let us know ताकि we can focus more on that aspect next time.
और आप लोग थैंक यू मत कहिए, इंस्टेंट 3 लोगों से शेयर करिए
और उन तीनों से कहना कि और 3 लोगों से शेयर करें, दुनिया बदल जाएगी।